Hey there, everybody. My name is Uncle Tony, and I am an old school gamer. I go way back with the gaming. I'm a tabletop role player. I'm also a GM. And yesterday, I blew up a game. And I mean, I blew it up. I blew it up quick. 10 minutes into introductions, and one of my players rage quit on me. Let's talk about this. And I suppose right now I'm going to do some kind of like introduction thing, like boom, Uncle Tony blew up a game or something, and then I'll just like drop it in here, maybe some fancy music, or fuck it, maybe not. We'll just keep going. So let me take you back a little ways. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed a posting on Roll20 for a Tales from the Loop game that needed a GM. And I've got the Tales from the Loop book. I've enjoyed looking at the book and the system that it provides, which is sort of a Stranger Things kind of world. It's the 80s that never was. So you're playing basically a preteen in the 80s. And the system is benign. It's beautiful. It's a little love letter to the 80s. There's no fatalities. Nobody rolls dice against you. Your players can't get really hurt. They can suffer conditions. So it's all very, very peaceful in the innocence of the 80s. And I thought, you know what? I've got a good idea for this story, so I'm going to jump in and ask these guys if they'd like me to GM the game. Turns out, yeah, they said yes. So we set this game for 2 weeks, which was yesterday, and I spent 2 weeks building a game. I built a game that was centered in the Finger Lakes area. I gave them a loop of their own. I gave them a summer camp that they were going to work from. And essentially, I didn't know the system very well, but it turns out in the system, they're only supposed to play like one session per season. So you get a summer, a winter, fall, spring, and then your year is over and you're a year older. I didn't actually know that at the time, so I overproduced a game. I've got like 10 things for them to do, 10 adventures to go on before their summer's even over and they have the big boss battle. So this was going to be kind of an epic adventure for everybody, but I didn't know how much of the game they had previously played. I didn't know if they had gone through the entire adventure that's in the manual, the Tales from the Loop book. Find out they only went through one of the adventures, and I could have probably just used the rest of it, but screw it. I've created a whole world for myself, so I was going to use this one. I've never played with these players before. I've never talked to them. I didn't even have a chance to really converse with them before we started the game, but the character sheets are simple. I mean, it's your name, it's your pride, it's a couple of things, and you're done. So, it was going to be easy enough to change their backgrounds if I had to right before the game. And I figured we'll take a few minutes at the top of the game just to introduce everybody and introduce their characters. And that's what we did. We got together yesterday morning, and the fourth character to introduce himself is playing a character, or fourth player to introduce himself is playing a character named Christina. Now, I didn't really put it together that there was a guy playing this little girl's part. So it caught me off guard, and that's what I said. I said, oh, it caught me off guard. I chuckled a little, and I said, so why are you playing a girl? And he rage quit on me instantly. And I mean instantly. Gone. Headset thrown away. Fuck this game. This guy's bullshit. I'm not putting up with this. Gone. Just evaporated. Took one of the other players with him. I was in stunned silence, and I talked to the other players. I apologized. I said, this has never happened to me before. I don't know what happened. I tried to throw out some apologies, like I don't know what I just said, but I apologize if that was inappropriate. So the game blew up. 10 minutes. 10 minutes in, it's gone. And to say 10 minutes, that's even being generous, because let's say, we waited 5 minutes for everybody to get online, then we bullshitted for a little bit. So let's say 3 minutes, and this game is in the toilet. All my hard work for 2 weeks and whatever. So I post a statement to the rest of the group on the Discord channel, to everybody that's still involved. I don't know if this person was gone from that, but I posted a statement, and obviously this person was angry that I had asked them why they were playing a girl. Mind you, this is a 41-year-old man I've never met playing a 13-year-old girl in a game about the innocence of the 80s. If he says to me, I flipped a coin. That's how I play role-playing games. I flip a coin, and if it comes up heads or tails, whatever, I play the girl. Perfectly legitimate answer. I just wondered. because it was honestly the most interesting thing about the character-player dynamic. Oh, okay, you're going to play a 13-year-old girl? Cool. I was never, ever going to say no to this. It was just interesting, and I asked him about it. My statement that I ended up posting was very conscientious, well written, and I think I got right to the point. It wasn't very, very long, and I suppose I could go to the length of actually reading it to you, because my statement was exactly this. First, I have no problem with players playing outside their gender. The reason that I ask why is because I believe it is important for me, as storyteller, to understand what your expectations are from this character. Are you playing this character because you have a point of view or philosophy that requires it? Are you exploring pronoun usage? Do you have a voice for this person? These are things that are important for me to know, not so that I can shame you or embarrass you, but so that I can give you and your character the experience that you expect. I can tell there have been issues in the past. Please know I would never say no to a player who wanted to play opposite gender, but I will always ask why. As a storyteller, I refer to players in character and call them by their character's name, and I think the conversation regarding whether a player will be comfortable doing such a thing is legitimate and necessary. I'm very sorry if I offended anyone. I'm sorry that other gamers have made this such a trigger issue. That doesn't, however, mean that we can't talk about it respectfully and with the good of the game in mind. And that was my entire statement. I let that sit. I let the player absorb it. I let the player calm down. I didn't try to say anything. They wrote to me later on and sent a long missive, a diatribe, just eviscerating my statement, sentence for sentence. Taking every sentence of mine and turning it into a paragraph of theirs, the substance of which was, I had no business asking, and it had absolutely no bearing on the character or the player. It wasn't my place to ask this question. It certainly wasn't my place to ask this question publicly. The player began this statement by saying they had expected a safe space to play. I am not familiar with this term. I have heard it used in the context of college campus twats that I really can't stand. I do not offer a safe space for anyone unless they ask for it, in which case I am incredibly respectful of their needs. But at no point did I have any contact with this player previous to this. He said, "Hi, my name is Jonas, I'm playing Christina." I said, "Why are you playing a girl?" And he rage quit on me and then sent a long, long missive about why it was none of my business to ask and that the question was inappropriate, had no bearing on this character or this game. This is something I know about psychology, and I don't know a lot about psychology, but I know if you let somebody ramble long enough, you'll get to the truth of the matter. And so while his missive does absolutely eviscerate every single one of my statements, or attempt to in his own way by diminishing anything that I could have said and insisting that I had no business and that it did not matter. But the second to the last paragraph of his missive goes on to say something I think we're all going to find interesting. Now, I'm not going to out this player, what his name is, who he is, or what he was doing in my, with the rest of this statement. But this is the second to the last paragraph, where after this, everything, he has insisted, I have no business asking this question, and it has no bearing on the character or the player. Quote, I'm going to assume that you read Christina's bio. So reading between the lines, you could probably see the blearing sign of that down the road I would perhaps have her come out as trans. But this was always something I thought of 2 games from now, as in her last adventure when she would have turned 15. This is a 13-year-old girl in a game about the innocence of the 80s. Played by a 41-year-old man I don't know. And he got pissed when I asked him why he was playing a girl. None of my business. Has no bearing on the game. Oh, but by the way, I was going to have her transition when she turned 15. Look, the strange thing is, if I had known this going into the game, and I should have known this as a GM. I should have known this part about the character going into the game. But when he talks about me should have knowing it from the blearing signs in his character sheet, this is what he's referring to. The character said she very much wanted to be like her brother, said she was not like the other girls, and her favorite song was True Colors by Cyndi Lauper. This is what's supposed to tell me that this is a girl questioning her sexual identity. And yet, obviously, I missed it for whatever reasons. And I don't mean to laugh at the idea that this guy was trying to put a trans character into a game about the innocence of the 80s. I am laughing about the fact that he thought I knew that. That he thought it was so obvious to them that I should have seen this. And honestly, I did not. And maybe you think I should have seen it too, but I really honestly approached this game with simply the 80s in mind, the innocence of the 80s in mind, and also the morality of the 80s in mind. So, and I guess I can spoil the game now. If this person wasn't going to rage quit when I asked them, why are you playing a girl? They were going to rage quit within the first half of the game. And the strange thing is, it's the 80s. I created the 80s, and I gave them a dangerous amusement park to go to on their very first day. It has a roller coaster with pieces falling off of it. It's got robot servants around that aren't helping people when things go wrong. It's got a midway with games from the 80s, meaning they are all games of violence. They're shooting games, dart games, games where you have to throw balls at stuff. So there's really this undercurrent of a threat and a violence everywhere. But mostly, there is also a dark part of the midway where they have freak shows. And in this freak show, I had a half man, half woman. It was one of the things they were going to come across. It was like a traditional old school carnival act freak show. And the guy was going to be, bearded on this side with a top hat. And then he turns around and he'll have the long blonde hair on this side and clean shaven. And it was going to be, oh, so freakishly thrilling. Thank God we got it out of the way early. Because if they had made it to the freak show, I can only imagine this person's reaction. I am very sorry for what they felt, but that's a shitty apology because I'm not actually apologizing for anything I did. I can't. I didn't know enough to create a safe space for this guy. And if he had needed one and it had explained to me that this was what he was going to do with his character, I certainly wouldn't have popped that question on him, like, why are you playing a girl? And I would have removed that one poster from the freak show so that they didn't have to experience it. So while I can't promise a safe space for my gamers, I can promise that I will be respectful of their needs if I know what their needs are. So, sad, but after his long diatribe, I realized I was not actually qualified to deal with the issues that were bubbling to the surface, and there was very little way I was ever going to engender trust with this person again. So I bowed out of the game, and I'm sad to say I left those guys hanging. Someday I hope to get to play the game again, because I put a lot of thought into it, and I thought I was going to play test it a little bit and maybe write it down and submit it to the company and see if maybe they'd like to do this for one of their other products. But that, I guess, is never going to happen. And that was also, who knows, a pipe dream probably. But there you go. I had a rage quit player that destroyed the game within 10 minutes. But I take full responsibility. I just wish I had known. There you are, everybody. I'm Uncle Tony. I am supposedly a professional gamer.